I still remember the exact moment when those words left her lips. Not tonight, or any night. The finality in her voice made my body go cold. We had been married for 6 years, and although things hadn't been perfect lately, I never expected such a definitive statement about our intimate life. That evening had started like any other. I came home from work. We had dinner, talking about mundane things, and then moved to the living room. She scrolled through her phone while I watched TV. When I leaned over to kiss her neck, something that once made her smile, she pulled away sharply. "Don't," she said, not even looking up from her screen. "I'm not in the mood." "You haven't been in the mood for weeks now," I replied, trying to keep frustration out of my voice. "Is everything okay?" That's when she put down her phone, looked me straight in the eyes, and delivered those crushing words, "Not tonight, or any night." I'm done with that part of our relationship. My mind raced through possible responses, but I sat there, speechless. How does one reply to the sudden end of physical intimacy in a marriage? No explanation, no room for discussion, just a unilateral decision that affected us both. "What exactly do you mean?" I finally asked, hoping I'd misunderstood. "Exactly what I said," she replied calmly. "I'm comfortable with our life together, the house, the social circle, the stability, but I'm no longer interested in physical intimacy. You can accept it or not. That's your choice." As she spoke, memories flashed through my mind. The passionate early days, the gradual cooling over the past year, the excuses, the way she flinched at my touch. All the signs had been there. I had just ignored them. "Is there someone else?" I asked, instantly regretting the cliché question. She laughed. "No, there isn't. I'm not interested in anyone that way anymore. This isn't about you. I've just moved past that phase of my life that almost hurt more. If there had been someone else, I could have labeled her the villain. But this? How do you fight against someone simply not wanting you anymore?" The following days were a strange limbo. We still lived together, ate together, even watched TV together, all while this invisible wall stood between us. She acted as if her declaration was no big deal, like she had just changed grocery brands, not the entire structure of our marriage. When I suggested counseling, she dismissed it. "We don't need therapy. There's nothing wrong with me, and I'm not going to be pressured into physical intimacy I don't want." At night, lying in bed beside her, I stared at the ceiling, wondering how I'd missed the slow erosion of our connection. Had I been too absorbed in work, or had she hidden her feelings until the very end? One thing became painfully clear. I was now in a marriage where I was neither wanted nor needed, just convenient. A bill payer, a dinner companion, a prop in the image of marital success. 2 weeks later, sitting in my car outside the house, I realized something. I had a choice. I could keep living in this emotional desert, hoping for rain that would never come, or I could redirect my time, my attention, and my resources towards something, or someone, that offered growth. When I walked through that front door, I already had a plan, not revenge, not confrontation, just redirection. The next morning, I woke up with determination. Maybe there was still something left to save. "Can we talk?" I asked as she made breakfast. "We're talking right now," she said flatly. "I mean, really talk. About us. About what you said." "There's nothing more to discuss," she said, putting down her knife. "I've made my feelings clear." "But why?" I asked. "People don't just wake up and decide to change their marriage overnight." "I didn't wake up and decide," she snapped. "I've felt this way for months. Maybe if you'd paid attention, you would have noticed. That stung." Because she was right. I had been distant, buried in work, but I'd done it for us. "Then let's fix it," I pleaded. "Counseling, date nights, whatever it takes." "What I need," she said coldly, "is for you to accept my decision." And just like that, the wall grew taller. I went to therapy alone. The therapist listened kindly, then said something that hit me hard. "Without her participation, I can only help you navigate your own response. She's already moved on emotionally. That was the truth I'd been avoiding. My wife hadn't left physically, but she was gone. So I began redirecting, I woke up early to meditate, exercise, and reclaim my mornings. I reconnected with old friends. I read, learned, and rebuilt. Over time, the changes became visible in my body, in my confidence, and most importantly, in my eyes. I looked alive again. Even she noticed. Though she said nothing, I invested in myself physically, mentally, financially. The watch I'd been saving to buy her, I used that money to enroll in a photography course. Photography became my escape, and then my passion. Each weekend, I chased sunrises, capturing the world through a new lens, my own. Months later, I was thriving. Work was booming, my fitness improved, and for the first time in years, I felt proud of who I was. That's when she noticed. "You're hardly ever home anymore," she said one night. "I'm just redirecting my time toward things that fulfill me," I replied calmly. "Isn't that what you've been doing?" She had no answer. For the first time, I realized I wasn't waiting for her to change anymore. I had changed. My photography got noticed. A local gallery invited me to showcase my work. She showed up, unexpectedly, at the opening night. "These are really good," she said softly. "There's a lot about me you don't know anymore," I replied, and it was true. She didn't know me, not this version of me. 6 months later, at a company retreat, I met Sarah, a colleague who shared my interests. She reminded me of what genuine connection felt like. No flirting, no boundaries crossed, just understanding, and that alone felt revolutionary. When my wife saw a picture of Sarah on my social media, she finally asked the question she'd been avoiding. "Are you happy?" I paused, then answered truthfully, "I'm happier than I was when my wife decided I wasn't worth touching anymore." She flinched. "That's not fair." "None of this has been fair," I said gently. "You redirected away from me. I redirected toward myself." Eventually, we sat down for one final talk. This time really talked. Tears, truth, and years of silence poured out. And for once, I saw emotion in her eyes. "So, what happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now," I said, "we both decide if there's anything left worth saving." We agreed on a trial separation, space to rediscover who we were, apart. 2 weeks later, she asked to meet for coffee. She looked different, calmer, more self-aware. "You were right," she said. "I made a decision that affected us both without thinking. It wasn't fair." Then she smiled faintly. "Watching you rebuild yourself made me realize how much I'd stagnated. You inspired me to start therapy, to find my own redirection. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Our story wasn't about winning or losing. It was about rediscovery. Because sometimes, when someone says, 'Not tonight or any night,' it's not the end. It's the beginning of finding yourself again." Outro, our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, make sure to hit subscribe. It helps us immensely. I've picked 2 more stories for you. Just click on them, and I'll meet you there in the next one.